friends and family. This is Marilyn from tarotclarity.com. And as I mentioned in yesterday's video, today's video will be a demonstration video on how to use a pendulum. Now, as of this video happening right now, only 2 of you responded to yesterday's video, and both of you said you'd like me to use the red pendulum for the demonstration, so that's what I'm using. Now, if you voted for blue or another one of them and I'm not using it, it's because you voted after I created this video. I usually create a few videos at a time and release them on days when my grandson is here, because when he's here, I usually don't get anything done. Nothing. Okay, so just like with tarot cards or with anything that you approach in life, if you have a feeling that you'd like to try something or do something and you don't know how to go about it, you do your research, right? Your research may require you to go to the library and get a book out, or go online and just read about, how it might be done. There's a lot of free information online. You could go to videos like this one and just see how somebody else would do it. So the same way that I hope I expressed to you enough with my tarot channel is that just because this is the way I do something doesn't mean it's the only way, and it doesn't mean it's the right way. It's just the way I do it. So I would advise you to check out a few videos or go to a few online sources, see what other people are doing or what other people recommend, pick and choose what resonates with you, and then put it all together for yourself. And then that's your technique. And that's just what I've done my whole life. You're not going to stick with something, or you're not going to do something. It's not going to have meaning to you unless it has meaning to you. Okay, now, yes or no questions are all I use the pendulum for. And I only ask questions about how I really feel about something. That's it. And yes or no is the answer. It's just yes or no questions and how I really feel about something. There may be something pressing, like should I move across country, right? I have a job opportunity. Should I move across country? And you really don't know if you want to do that, because if you move, you lose all your people. Your people are here, right? And your family, for example, do you really want to leave all your people? You want to leave, that kind of thing. But the money is really good. So, yeah, and you just don't know consciously what you're supposed to do. And you can ask everybody and their mother-in-law about what you ought to do. And their opinions are great, but it's really what you feel that's best. And that's why I would suggest you use a pendulum for something like that. Now, sometimes people like talking to me. Some people claim that they feel better when they talk to me about something. And I do card readings, of course, but if a friend were to come in, I don't do pendulums for profit. I don't do that for money, because I don't do pendulum readings for anyone else except for myself. But if someone were to come here and I would say, maybe you should try the pendulum for that, I'd bring them in here. I'd show them how to use it. I'd demonstrate how to use it. I'd let them try it, right? And then they can see for themselves what the answer is. But it's not something that I feel that I could do for another human being. I just don't feel like that's what it's appropriate for. So before you do your pendulum thing, there's a few things I want to mention. You want to have a pendulum that you are comfortable with. It has to be pretty. It has to be, I think it should be aesthetically pleasing. You have to like it, enjoy it. And it also has to be one that's really comfortable. Now, one of the primary reasons that I like using my own pendulums is because I design mine in such a way that I stick my finger through the loop. Many times when I purchase pendulums, all they really ever have is a bead on top that you hang it from. But I kind of feel like if my finger twitches or if I have the shakes or something, it will be more inclined to influence the swing. I feel that I have more control if I can put my finger through it, steady my finger by pinching my finger to my thumb, and just let the thing dangle by itself naturally. Now, another thing I do is that I close my eyes. I don't keep my eyes open because I don't want to influence it. I don't want it, I don't want to influence it at all. And sometimes it's really crazy, but sometimes when I ask a question and I'm sure that the answer will probably be yes, right? When I open my eyes, it's swinging in a way that's no. And it's shocking. So you can't really always tell which way it's swinging when your eyes are closed. I can't, at least I can't. Now, before we get into having a question, I always ask a baseline question that I know the answer to. And usually what I'll ask is the color of the room I'm in. So obviously, well, maybe not because the light could be a little strange, but this room is blue. This room is painted blue. So in order to get a baseline for no, I'm going to ask, is the room I'm in yellow? Is it painted yellow? Now I'm going to tilt the camera so you don't see my face, because you don't need to see my face. Really what you need to do is see the suspension of the thing. So I'm going to tilt it so you can see how I'm holding the thing. So I'm putting it in like I mentioned. I'm resting my finger like so. You'll notice that my elbow is on the table. I'm not going to close my eyes until it's relatively steady. So it's just sort of dangling, but it's not moving in any real direction. And I'm going to ask, is this room painted yellow? Okay, I'm opening my eyes, and you can tell, I hope, that the pendulum was swinging. It was trending towards front and back. It may be hard to see, but from your perspective, you want to look at the pendulum parallel to yourself. So if it's going this way, if it's trending front and back, for this answer, it would be no. That would be the no. So I'm going to go one step further and say, is this room painted blue? Okay, so yes, it is painted blue. And you see that it's trending in this direction, right? Now, it may not always trend in the same direction. And so for that reason, before I begin a session, I would ask those those baseline questions. Now, if I do 2 or 3 readings today, I have already done my baseline. I know forward and backward means no, and sideways means yes. But if I do it on another day, I'll ask over again. And definitely if I use a different pendulum, because if I use a different pendulum, depending on how the thing's constructed, it may not freely swing in the directions I've shown you. This one that I've used tends to swing this way or this way. But there are some, because of the way they're attached, the way they're made, may only swing on a diagonal. And so sometimes the diagonal left to right would mean yes, and the diagonal left to right or whatever it is would mean no, the opposite way. So I think you need to do that every single time before you begin a session. So that's it. That's all there is to it. And, use it for your tricky questions, and it's amazing. It's remarkable. And I'll tell you what, whenever I've used it and I've gotten my profound yes or no response, I've never regretted my choice. Right? But in the beginning, before you're accustomed to using it, you may want to use it for smaller things, before you really get the hang of how to do it properly. So maybe you want to do it for, should I spend that $75 on that tarot deck, or should I save the money for something else, Because only you know your expenses for that month, and only you know what you can get away with for that month. And, if you spend $70 on a tarot deck and it was a mistake, it's not the end of the world, right? It's not, it's not the same as moving across country, something that's extremely profound, right? So you want to start with smaller things until you really get the hang of it, and then you really understand how it's done. But remember, Make sure it's comfortable. Make sure it's aesthetically pleasing. Make sure you establish a baseline no, baseline yes. And try to keep quiet. Try to keep steady. Close your eyes. Open them up after about 30 seconds just to see, you know. And if you know, after a while, you can tell if you're, you know, you can usually tell. Well, actually, I can't. I can't tell if it's moving at all. That's why I like closing my eyes, because I can't tell if it's moving at all. So I'll close my eyes. I'll be perfectly still. After about 30 seconds, I'll open my eyes, and it's usually moving in some direction. And that's the way that's how I do it. Okay, friends, until next time, peace, stay well, be kind, and do no harm.